Hello everybody, this is Albert with Green Tea House. I hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to talk about the trepidation that some who don't know too much tea, the novices of tea, have when coming to a tea store, and how it's similar to ordering wine. Now before we begin, if you haven't done so already, please come and visit us here in Green, Texas, outside of New Braunfels, Texas. Also subscribe and hit the notification bell so these episodes come fresh to you, and post a comment if you like. There's a lot of similarities between tea and wine. We've mentioned in the episode on terroir, we've mentioned on the episode on cultivars, how there's similarities in that there isn't just one type of wine, right? Wine comes from grapes, no doubt, but there's different cultivated varieties or different just varieties in general based on where it's grown, region, the type of grape you're using, and whatnot. Now, by no means am I an expert on wine. I barely ever drink it. I barely drink alcohol in general, but when I do drink alcohol, it is wine because I do like the taste. And I think there's some similarities with tea. And so I see people come to the tea store whose experience with tea is pretty much going to be black teas. Why black teas? Well, we know black tea is the tea of iced tea. And we know that black tea is the tea of English afternoon tea parties. Think of Earl Grey, think of English blends, Irish blends. The most well-known are all blacks. So when people come in, and I kind of walk them through the table, and as of recording this, we have about 50, 55 teas and tisanes. Understandably so, some people get intimidated who don't know a lot about tea. If their only experience with tea is, I grew up drinking tea bag, Earl Grey. And so I totally understand. And tea to them can be a little intimidating because they feel like maybe they need to know about Genmaicha and white peony and Oriental Beauty Oolong and Pu'er and all these things, which of course they don't. But it's similar to like with wine. If all you've known your whole life, let's say, is red wine, you just grew up in a town or small town, or you grew up in a place where just wine wasn't big. So yeah, I drank red wine from the grocery store in a carton or whatever. And then you go to a vineyard or you go to some place like Napa Valley or whatnot, and then you walk into a place and they have all these different things, and you've heard these names like rosés and I don't know, Moscatos and Cab and Malbec and Chablis, and you're just like, what? I just know red wine. It's kind of the same thing. People come in like, I've drank black tea my whole life and green tea. Well, it's like we have 13, 14 different green teas. They don't even know that there's such thing as 14 different green teas. Of course, there's much more than that. So there is kind of like this kind of trepidation, as I say, about ordering tea. And it's similar to ordering wine in that if your whole life you've only known red wine, and then you find out, oh my gosh, there's more than red wine. There's all these other varieties, namely like, let's say, white wine. It can be daunting, but also exciting. And this is what I see when people who don't know much about tea come to the tea store. I would say the majority of people who come here are not like well versed. I mean, there are exceptions, but they're not well versed in knowing about tea. And so like telling them about green tea, yellow tea, white tea, oolongs, is kind of like telling somebody who only knows about red wine that there's white wine and there's rosés and all these other categories, port and whatnot. And so there's excitement and there's trepidation. And what I would tell people is the same thing I would tell people who are new to wine. Once you find out there's more than just red wine, yes, you can stick to what you know, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. Branch out. It's exciting, but a little intimidating to know, oh my God, there's other categories of wine. I've always loved wine, or what I perceive to be wine. There's other categories. Oh my God. And the same thing with tea. You look at how narrow kind of like the American worldview of tea is today. It's black tea from iced tea. Most Americans don't even know that iced tea is black tea. Or afternoon tea parties, which is not just black, but a very narrow spectrum of black. We talked about this in the 6-part series on English tea society from the 1660s to about the 1880s. How, look, they drank a certain type. Normally it was going to be like a Darjeeling or an Assam black or a Ceylon, all the things that they grew in their colonial holdings. But most of them, like if you ask people who go to afternoon tea parties, they couldn't even tell you the different cultivars of black, aside from English breakfast blend, which is really an amalgam, depending on which Twinings one you're drinking, of 12 different black teas. and like Tetleys and Twinings, they have a different English breakfast blend. If you're in England, if you're in Ireland, if you're in Australia, you're in America, it's different blends. Kind of like how McDonald's will have different menus depending on where they're at in the world. And so they might know, they might know Earl Grey or black tea, that's English blend, but they're not going to know Lapsang Sanchong. They're not going to know Keeman. There's other black teas in the world that they won't even know about. And so I would tell you, branch away. Yes, it's understandable. Like, I don't know about wine. So if I go to a vineyard, it's going to be like this. And yeah, I've had a red wine. I might know, I couldn't tell you the difference in taste between, like if I did a blind taste test between a Cab and a Merlot and a Pinot, I couldn't tell you the difference. I know. But I'm going to try different things because it's exciting, and I would tell you the same thing. So guys, if you ever go to a tea store, it's totally understandable if you don't know a lot about tea to be intimidated, but be brave, branch out. You know, if your whole world has been black tea, especially English breakfast blend, try something crazy. Jump to the other side of the oxidation table, so to speak, and try a Gyokuro or try Dragonwell or just the weirdest name tea on the table. Just say, I'm going to try that, and expand from there. That's the best way to go. And this is one of the reasons why we have the Starter 6 package, because the Starter 6 package, you get 6 small packets, one from each of the 6 categories of tea: pu'er, black, oolong, yellow, white, green. And you get to jump in from there. So I would say, be brave, jump into the deep end, and just try all the different things, because tea is more than just afternoon black English tea. There's so much range of taste that you're missing out if you just kind of stick to your narrow, limited view, which is understandable, but branch out from there. Guys, post in the comments, what's your history of branching out and trying new teas? I would love to hear from you. Until next time, take care. God bless.